Welcome to my drift mission tutorial. Drift missions are a bit different from time trials and AI races. There is no use of the race path editor. First we need to find a spot for our drift mission. Then we open the editor with the F11 key. Open the mission editor from the window missions menu. Click new mission, add a name and select drift from the mission type menu. As always, we need to place our start trigger, hold shift to drag it in place. For drift missions, we only need to place a start and a finish position. The course will be set by the prefab. You place the start and finish point in a similar way to how you place the start trigger. You can ensure that the position is flat on the ground using the down to terrain and align with terrain buttons. Here you can choose the car for the player if you want. Here you can set the time limit and the amount of points the player needs to score for each goal. You can add custom intro text here. Here is where the prefab is managed. In drift missions, it is saved with the name obstacles. Here we can set bonus zones, one for donuts and one for giving corners extra drift points whilst the player is inside it. These can both be rotated and resized. The finish area is optional and you can just have the player run until their time has expired. You can set it where the player has to come to a stop at the finish line if you wish. Bear in mind that both finish types, stopped or flying, have their own trigger zone, so you'll have to place the other one if you want to change it. You can tick navigation if you want GPS arrows on the road to guide the player, but this will only work if there are decal roads with drivable status. You can give additional points for finishing with no damage. You can set up your star awards here, again more about that in another tutorial. Now let's set up our prefab. I'm going to introduce a new tool that came with 0.27 to you that I think is rather special, the Object to Spline tool. This will allow you to place strings of lined up objects wherever you wish on the terrain block. Go to Window and click Object to Spline Editor. So first we need an object. Open the asset browser under Window at the top and then click Save Filter and All Models in yellow to show only objects, and find a model to use as barriers. This barrier will be great for our course. So essentially what this does is it takes a spline that we make using a decal road and uses that to place our barriers. So if we click the decal road editor at the top and set the default width to 1, it's not important but it just looks tidier, and make sure that the non-AI roads is selected so we can see all kinds of decal roads. Then we place down the path by holding Alt and clicking to add nodes. When you're happy with your spline, click the Object Editor button at the top and select the barrier that we're going to use for our barrier objects. Then at the top of the Object to Spline tool, click Get From Selection with the one that is next to Object, not Spline. And then we need to select our spline from the scene tree, and then click Get From Selection that is next to Spline on the Object to Spline tool. You should see them both ticked and the object IDs visible. Then you can click Preview to make sure that it's going to place them in the sort of areas you'd like, and then click Create to place the objects. If the barriers are a bit too close, like this, you can press Ctrl-Z to undo, and that will remove them, and then you can adjust the spacing in the Object to Spline tool, and then press Create again. Once you're happy, you can use this to move on. If you like to use this method to flesh out your course, that's totally your choice, otherwise you can place everything individually. We can now close the Object to Spline tool and delete the decal roads that we use for splines. Now we pack our prefab the same way as always. Select the top static of your course and then click the white folder with the plus at the top to add a new sim group folder. Select all of your course barriers and objects and carefully drag them into the sim group folder. And then right click on the folder and click Pack Prefab. For drift missions, we need to save it in our mission folder with the name Obstacles. You can check that in the mission editor with the checklist. Finally, we can set up a zone area if we want. This will force the player to stay in a certain area, or else they will score no points. Open the Sites Manager from the window Gameplay menu, click the Zones tab, and then click Create. Now by holding Shift and clicking, you can add points to mark out your zone. Place the points in order as you move around your area. Once you're happy, click Save from the File menu in the Sites editor. Save the zone in your mission folder with the name Bounds. Now you can go over and fine-tune the other options to customize your missions to more of your liking. If you're not restarting the game before trying out your mission, remember to press Ctrl-L to reload the lure before testing. Let's see how it runs.